Rachel stuck up for Addie whenever the occasion arose, and she said, "Let Addie sign your character books. She doesn't have cooties." But then Rachel stuck up for everybody who was picked on. There was a little girl named Evie Powers in the next block, and sometimes the older boys and girls picked on her. "Police! Come and get Evie!" they would cry, trying to scare the wits out of Evie. But Rachel, if she heard them, would cry out, "Police! Don't come and get Evie!" And she would run and put her arms around the little girl. Evie just worshipped Rachel and wanted to be with her every minute. This was a nuisance, for Evie wasn't even up to onesies in the game of onesie-twosie, and Rachel was up to fivesies. But Evie had to be protected nevertheless. Rachel would give her a smile and a pat and say, "Don't worry, Evie. I won't let the police get you." Then she would run off to find Addie or Jerry and Dick, or someone her age, leaving Evie wiping her eyes and looking after her adoringly. Rachel was an eager, skinny little girl who almost always wore skirts and blouses that didn't stay tucked in, or sweaters, and her nose was frequently runny because she had hay fever. Jerry was skinny too, but his nose didn't run. Jerry had black hair and Rachel's was reddish gold, though at this moment, sitting under the street lamp, the hair of both of them looked purple. To lead up to the subject that was nearest his heart, Jerry said, "Rach, which is more important, a dog or a cat?" Rachel and Jerry were in the habit of having discussions as to what was the most important of anything. The most important, or the prettiest, or the best, or the funniest. For instance, in the dictionary, almost their only picture book except for Mr. Pye's books of birds, they had excited discussions over which was the prettiest fish on the shiny-colored page of fish, or the prettiest bird or butterfly. One favorite discussion of theirs was the one they had whenever they played train, calling out like conductors, "New York to Boston." Which was more important, they asked one another, New York or Boston? "New York," Jerry would say, "because it has the Museum of Natural History in it." "Boston," said Rachel, "because it sounds more important." "Why?" "It just does." Rachel couldn't explain the reason she thought Boston sounded more important than New York, but it probably had something to do with the roundness of the letters, the B and the O's. For the same reason she thought London sounded more important than Paris, though Paris sounded prettier. Sometimes, since Jerry was 1 year older than she wondered if she too should not say New York. Still, to her, Boston sounded rounder, bigger, more solid, more important. Their town, Cranberry, was between these two big cities. The trains went streaking past, running back and forth from Boston to New York, from New York to Boston. Mama was from a little town near New York, and Papa was from Boston. This made it doubly hard to choose the more important. How had Mama met Papa when they were at two different ends of the railroad? It happened this way. Papa was much older than Mama. He was 35 when he met Mama, and up till then he had not had a minute to get married because all he thought about was birds, birds, birds. Already he was a quite famous birdman. Well, one day Papa happened to be standing in a New York subway station. Though he came from Boston, he had frequent business in New York. In this particular subway station, there was an escalator, and all of a sudden Papa decided to see if he could run up the escalator, not the up escalator, the down one. He would have to run pretty fast to beat the stairs that were trying to bring him back downwards. Papa said he had always wanted to try this, but naturally he did not want to make a fool of himself in front of other people, of whom there were plenty in New York. This time, however, there weren't any other people around, and it was a splendid opportunity. So, up he flew, several steps at a time, and he did manage to reach the top. It so happened that when, panting, Papa did reach the top, there was a certain young girl who was about to come down the escalator, and here Papa came racing up it so fast he couldn't help it. He knocked the young lady down. Now this girl